Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to give folks just a couple minutes to join, and we will go over some housekeeping and accessibility things. In the meantime, if you need captions, you can find that option at the bottom right on your little buttons bar, and we will be using the Q&A feature if you have any questions for the end. Alrighty. Hi, all. Thank you for joining us today. Before I get started, I wanted to go over some access features. We do have CART, so you can turn on captions with the bar at the bottom of your screen that says captions. This will be recorded and we will post it on our YouTube channel later this week. And finally, the chat is off, but we'll be using the Q&A feature. We hope there'll be time for questions at the end, so feel free to add yours using the button at the bottom of your screen that says Q&A. With all that said, we will get things started. Thank you again for joining us. My name is Dean Strauss, and I am the communications manager at the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network. I'm super excited to talk to you about the Autism Campus Inclusion, or ACI, Leadership Academy, which is a program that is a huge part of my job. So first, let's go over what ACI is. ACI is a virtual week-long leadership program for autistic college students. All autistic college students are welcome to apply. You just need to be autistic and have at least 1 year left in your program, just so you can make some kind of difference on campus, deal with some of the issues that you see. Students learn about starting and running groups, understanding disability policy, and talking to people in power. That's a really condensed version of what happens over the course of a week. ACI, because it is virtual, uses Zoom and Discord. So the program has been virtual since 2020, and we have found it really cool to have so many folks be able to join the program that might not be able to otherwise. Just to give an overview of what the timeline looks like, applications have opened. They opened January 5th. Applications will be due Sunday, March 8th, 2026. We'll go over what your different options are to apply if you haven't already submitted. All good. Interviews will be March to April, and we'll let you know when those come up, and you'll have a chance to sign up for a time slot. Final decisions will be emailed in April, likely near the end of April. And then ACI is July 13th to 19th for this year. So we're very excited. Most importantly, how can you apply? There are 3 ways you can apply for ACI. You just pick the one that works best for you. You can download, fill out, and email the plain language application to me at deanstrauss@autisticadvocacy.org. You can download, fill out, and email the Easy Read application, or you can fill out the Google form. All of those are on the same page. You can find those at autisticadvocacy.org/ACI, and I will also put that in the chat. But all of the information that we talk about today and all of the different applications are going to be available to you there. So because there are a bunch of different ways to apply, just want to go over what those different applications look like. The first is the plain language PDF. This is going to be the first one on the page. Talks about what ACI is, all of the qualifying information, and then all of the questions. The second one on the page is going to be the Easy Read edition. Easy Read is a way of writing that is going to have each sentence will have a corresponding image related to it, and there'll be more space in between, but all of the questions are going to be the same information in all of these. And then finally, the Google form, like it says, going to be a Google form. This might be more accessible for you than downloading and filling out the application, but all of them have the same questions and information, and none of them make any difference to us, whatever is the most accessible for you. And with that in mind, what if the application process isn't accessible for you? We want this to be open to every autistic college student who wants to be a part of the program. So you can email me before the application deadline, and there's a bunch of things that we can do. We'll talk over your access needs, what you're looking for, which parts of the application process aren't accessible, or just questions that you have. So we can help you answer the questions over the phone. We can go over the questions on Zoom, and we can read the questions out to you. You can fill it out, or we can read it out to you and fill it out with you. We can help you fill out the application in whatever way is most helpful. We can answer questions about the application. If there's something that's unclear, you don't know why it's on the application, or what we're trying to ask, or what we're really looking for, we're happy to answer questions, go over things in more detail, or like reword things. We want it to be as accessible as possible for you. So, with all that in mind, you filled out your application, you've gotten accepted to ACI. What happens then? So, you're going to get a confirmation email. I'm going to say, congratulations, you've gotten accepted into ACI. And we have you confirm your attendance so we know that you want to fill that slot at ACI. Once we get your confirmation, we're going to send you a welcome packet and a reading list. The welcome packet is going to include things like the official schedule for the year, the reading list, all of the readings that you'll need to do before ACI. Those readings are just so that everyone has the same baseline going into ACI so that things make as much sense to you as possible and you can hit the ground running. It's not so you need to know everything about autistic advocacy or autistic history in order to do the program. We just want to make sure everyone has the same resources going into the program. And that'll include some other things like practice sheets if you want to start brainstorming your goal if you didn't have a solid one in mind. You'll also get an accommodation form. This will include things like your emergency contact info, but also a bunch of different accommodations that might be helpful for you, and also some spots for things that might not already be on there that might be helpful for us to know about. Things like if you have direct support person, if you need large print, if you need things sent in audio form, all of that, whatever makes the program as accessible for you as possible. There will also be a couple different events before ACI. There is the pre-ACI book club. Like I said, there is a reading list. And even if folks really, really enjoy those, they might want to talk about them. They might have questions about the readings, or they might just want another chance to meet the folks who will be in their cohort that year. So the pre-ACI book club is a really great opportunity for that. That is in June, a couple weeks before ACI. We are also going to have one-on-one check-ins with everyone who is going into ACI. So really important to make sure that you know what your access needs are. We can discuss if there are things you haven't thought about that might not be accessible for you. We can go over questions. We can talk about the schedule. Just make sure you're feeling really good about the program because you work so hard to get into it. And finally, there will be a big group Q&A. So this is an opportunity to meet everyone who's going to be in the cohort, and also another opportunity to ask questions. We want to make sure you feel as prepared for ACI as possible. So we want to make sure there's a bunch of opportunities to do that, including with some of these pre-ACI events. So finally get to ACI, what happens? There are a few sessions a day. ACI, like I said, 7 days. Sessions are going to focus on things like policy, organizing, campaigns, strategic relationships, and a bunch of other stuff. Sessions are usually going to be broken into a lecture, a group discussion, and a Q&A. So there's going to be time for you to learn about the topic we're talking about, discuss it, go over practice things, do role plays, things like that. Really varies depending on the session, and then time to ask questions. That is always the most important part. We want to make sure you're understanding what we're going over, and if not, see what we can do to make sure that everyone does understand by the end. Also importantly, ACI is an autistic space. The folks who attend ACI, the folks who are staffing ACI, and the folks who present at ACI are autistic people. This is exciting because it is usually the first time a lot of folks are in an all autistic space, but it's also because it's a new experience, can be confusing. What does that mean? What is an autistic space? The most important thing is it means that we can be autistic in that space. So if you feel comfortable fidgeting, if you feel comfortable with your camera off, if you want to use different fidget toys, or if you are stimming visibly, if you have different ways of communicating that you prefer that you might not use in other spaces, you can use them here. If you're most comfortable using chat, or if you're most comfortable speaking, most comfortable using an AAC, or a combination of various communication methods. Whatever makes you most comfortable is what you can bring into the space. You don't have to be a particular way, which is very exciting and a really wonderful part of ACI. And before I get into the schedule, just a reminder, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A box and I will get to them at the end. I will also call for questions when we get to there, but this is also a good opportunity to pause and do that. Awesome. So getting into an idea of what the schedule looks like. This is, of course, tentative. Things might change because we are still in January and ACI is many months away, but we get to planning ACI very early. So ACI is July 13th to 19th this year. That is Monday through Sunday. It does include the weekend. Monday, because it is orientation, is a little bit longer than the other days. Monday starts at noon Eastern Time. The first part of orientation is noon to 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Then we take a break. We come back at 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And then finally, one more event at 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So we have big chunks of breaks. There's also 15-minute breaks during each of those sessions. And we encourage you, if you need to step away, turn your camera off, take a break, what have you, you're always welcome to. You do not need permission, and you can get up and leave whenever you need to. Tuesday through Sunday is more consistent because we're out of orientation. That is noon to 1:55 Eastern Time. Then we take a break for lunch, long break, breakfast, wherever you are, whatever you need it to be. We have a bigger break in between there. And then we come back at 3:30 to 5:25 Eastern Time. Again, there's 15-minute breaks during each of those sessions, and we encourage you to take breaks whenever you need to. There's also some optional social events at 6 p.m. Eastern Time some days. That really varies year to year, and those are not required. We want to be very clear. We want ACI to be a place where you can network and meet other autistic folks, and we want it to be an enjoyable experience, but we're not forcing you to do any of the after hours events. We know that being online for a lot of hours a day can be really challenging for folks. So after ACI, you have gone through your 7 days. What happens? ACI alumni continue to get support from ASAN staff throughout the year. We have check-ins 4 times a year. 4 times a year. We have one of those coming up in February, actually, for our alumni. This is a really good chance to talk through your goals, what you've been doing, what you've been working on, or what you want to work on, even if you don't know how to get started, and answer questions about that, find any resources that might be helpful, connect you to other alumni or folks in the community who might be able to help carry on your goals you're working on. This continues for as long as it is helpful for you. This can include things like developing SMARTY goals. If you have an idea, but you're not really sure how to flesh it out, we can help with that. It can include things like coming up with the resources. If you want to make a plain language or easy read toolkit, helping you figure out how do you make that? Where can you go to find folks to join your focus group? Where can you find folks who are really good at graphic design for an easy read toolkit? All of that kind of stuff. So this is an opportunity to help you with your goals, and you will continue to do that 4 times a year as long as it's helpful for you. So that was a pretty quick overview of ACI. I want to make sure we have lots and lots of time to go over your questions. That's the most important part of this. So I will pause for a moment. Feel free to put your questions in the Q&A box. I know we already have a couple, but I will pause for a moment. And if there's anything that you can think of later, you don't feel comfortable asking it now, or you just think of it later, feel free to email us at info@autisticadvocacy.org, or feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer questions, help make the application process more accessible, or go over anything that you're thinking about regarding ACI. So I will pause for a moment if you want to add more questions to the Q&A box, which you can do by going down at the bottom and either clicking Q&A or clicking the button that says More, then Q&A, then adding your question. Okie doke. I'm going to start going through the questions. Feel free to keep adding them if you have thoughts. Um, I am happy to answer anything. We got a question that is, I am starting university in Canada. Are the accommodations similar? I can't speak directly to what the accommodation process is like in Canada, but I can connect you with alumni who have done the program from Canada. And I know folks have lots of thoughts, but I won't try to speak to the legality of what specific accommodations will look like in Canada. Also asked, can I attend online? How much does it cost? Awesome question. Yes, ACI is completely virtual. You, in fact, cannot attend the program in person. ACI has been virtual since 2020 for safety reasons, and we have continued it since then and plan to continue it for the foreseeable future. Um, Also importantly, ACI is completely free because it is an online program. It is free in person. Things are a little different, but ACI covers certain costs like travel and lodging, things like that. But because the program is virtual, it is completely free to attend. It does not cost you anything, and it is completely virtual, which is really important to cover. Got another question. Are the seminars live or can they be done asynchronously? Awesome question. So all of these sessions at ACI are live, and nothing, unfortunately, can be done asynchronously. This is because, for confidentiality reasons, we make sure that nothing is recorded. Not everyone who attends the program is openly autistic, especially at school, and we don't want anyone to feel unsafe or feel like they can't do the program because they are not out at school. So for that reason, we don't record anything. We do have notes that we share after every session for folks, but those aren't shared publicly because they can have folks' names from discussions and things like that. So it is important that you're able to attend all 7 days of the program, barring any health emergencies or things like that. Someone asked, I have been denied a few times. Should I apply again? Yes, I know it is super discouraging if you have applied to the program and not gotten in before. We get so many folks applying to the program, and unfortunately, folks have really solid, incredible applications. And we only have so many slots for the program, but I really encourage you to apply again, especially as you go along with your advocacy journey, as you know your university more. The best piece of advice I can give is know what your goals are. They don't have to be fully formed. That's a huge part of ACI is solidifying your goals and how you want to do it. But I think the best thing you can do is know what you want to do, what you want to change on campus, what issues you've seen, because I think that's a really strong guide for ACI and getting you through it, figuring out what you want to do, what you want to take away from ACI. But yes, I really encourage you to apply again if you have not gotten to the program before. That does not mean you did not have a great application. Let me take a drink real quick. Someone asked, how many slots are there? Good question. This varies a bit from year to year, but I will say about 20 folks. Our classes usually range from 20 to 25, usually a bit closer to 20. We are able to accept a bit more, which is how we get to 20 when we are virtual, which is another really exciting part of the program being virtual. But we want to make sure that everyone is able to get the most out of the program. So we cap it around there. However, do not let that discourage you. Um, I encourage everyone to apply if you're interested in the program. We're also happy to answer question and share resources, and continue to apply even if you don't get in the first time. If you don't get in the second time, you can continue to grow as an advocate, and we want to support your work regardless. If there are more questions, I will pause for a moment. Feel free to add them to the Q&A, which again you do by clicking on the Q&A button or clicking on more and then Q&A to find that. Awesome. Another one. What kind of things do you cover at ACI? This is a good question. I know I went over it pretty generally. There are a lot of things we go over. Most days there are 2 sessions a day, so we get 2 different topics a day. We cover things like policy advocacy, legislative advocacy, organizing online, um, talking about the history of developmental disability policy, the history of the autistic self advocacy movement, and so many other things. So it is quite broad. Orientation covers a lot of the what I'm going to call the like bases to get us going into it. But there are also sessions that are more for networking. For example, one of these sessions, Ask Us Things, is an opportunity to kind of network and kind of get to know the staff at ASAN and also the folks who are in your program. Um, it is networking set up in a way that is for autistic folks so that it doesn't feel the same as maybe some other networking events that haven't worked for every autistic person. So it varies quite a bit, but we cover a lot of different advocacy skills that I think are really helpful for developing your goals and learning how to advocate on campus and beyond. What have ACI alumni gone on to do? A good question. Um, Folks have gone on to do so many things. Some folks do things that are technically completely unrelated to advocacy. They will be working in their fields that they studied at school, but they use those advocacy skills either outside of work or on their campuses as an alumni, etc. And that's a really solid thing to do with these skills. I think they're helpful for pretty much everyone. We also have folks that have gone on to be elected officials, folks who are policy directors, people who have gone on to do research, and use the skills that they have gained in their work. It is very cool to see a lot of the stuff that folks do, and most of them are really happy to connect with new students or new alumni once you have finished the program. Someone asked, I know a lot about disability advocacy. Is there a way I could teach at ACI? Great question. So, ACI, we are not currently looking for new programs. However, we are pretty regularly changing up the program and looking at what things we can change and improve. So, we are always thinking about what things we can add to ACI or change. If things like that pop up, we will often either reach out to alumni or folks in our network, but also share open calls on our website. So I definitely recommend keeping an eye out for that. Someone asked, can you apply if you're a non traditional student? Yes, 100%. ACI is not for just any specific kind of college student. Anyone in a college, a university, a TIPSID program, um, with at least 1 year left of their program is more than able to apply for ACI, more than eligible. We encourage folks of any kinds of experiences, and it's exciting to see the folks who do apply for ACI. Yes, it's not limited by anything other than you being an autistic college student with 1 year left in your program. Oh, someone asked, are returning students eligible? For example, I have a bachelor's with one major, but if I went back for another undergraduate program, ASL interpreting, yes, 100%. If you are going back, if you have a year left in your program, you are absolutely eligible. And I should say, students who are getting a second bachelor's, students who are in grad school, PhD students who are currently in their program are all eligible. And we've had folks from all of those ranges be a part of ACI before. So, absolutely, you are definitely eligible, and I encourage you to apply. And I also will say, if you feel like your major doesn't match up to ACI, I really encourage you to apply. I think there is uh, no major that it's inappropriate to apply for ACI. We've had folks who are studying policy, who are studying labor relations, but also folks who are studying graphic design, folks who are studying music, folks who are studying special education. And I think everyone has thoughts about how accessible their campus is, what issues they see on campus, and things that they want to do to help their community. And that's the biggest part of ACI. If there are things that you want to change and issues you see on campus, I think ACI is the program for you. Awesome. Awesome. I will give just a couple more minutes for questions if folks have any. Alrighty. Not seeing any questions. I am happy to close out early and give y'all your time back. I will also put my email in the chat if you have any questions. If there is anything about the application process that's not accessible that you want to go over, or if you just have more thoughts on ACI. Thank you again so much for coming. I really hope you apply. ACI is one of my favorite things that ASA does, and it's certainly my favorite part of my job. I think it's a super cool program, and I'm excited to see everyone who applies to be a part of this year's cohort. Have a fantastic rest of your day.